Hi there, everybody. A very good evening to all of you watching me in today's live. I am Sapna Mahadevan, your host for this beautiful evening, and let's explore the fiction story writing masterclass today as well. Yes, and especially for all of my dear viewers, I have an interesting genre planned up today as well. Great. So let's move ahead with our episode of today. As always, I would urge all of my participants here to spark up their creativity, have oodles of imagination, and unleash the writer in you. And let's explore at being a good creative writer, isn't it? So here we have the fiction story writing masterclass, Unleash the Writer in You. And I am going to give you some expert tips, a lot of essentials, prerequisite elements that you need to keep in your story to make it an absorbing read. Yes. So let's look at the genre for today and what's the subgenre. I know all of you are really waiting eagerly to know all about this and more, isn't it? So coming up is we have a lot of gamut of activities, right? Just like I mentioned a while back, we are going to let you know essentials, then some plot building pointers, and also give you expert tips on how you can be expanding the story and basically putting a whole story together. Yes, adding up to all the right ingredients. And along with that, we also have some fun segments, just like the guess the movie segment, a synonym segment, recommendation of the day, which is a movie for today, and there is a fill in the blanks or fill in the words segment. And apart from that, as we all know, there are icebreaker questions which will keep coming up in between the session every now and then, right? So do ponder on all of these icebreaker questions, and do let me know your thoughts, share your feelings with me on all of these icebreaker questions, and let's promise to keep this an interactive session, right? So let's get going with the first icebreaker question. Be prepared for this one. I can see a lot of hellos in the chat box, and I would just like to thank each one of you to join me in this live today and to take that first step towards self learning, right? So yes, the first icebreaker question of the day, just there onto my screen. Yes. So, do you like poetry? That's the first question, an icebreaker that I have for you, right? So, as we all know, poetry, it is a form of expression of feelings, of ideas, which is done in a very distinctive style, isn't it? So, they have a rhyming kind of a style writing, yes, and so much depth and meaning to each of those phrases, isn't it? So do you like poetry? Do let me know in the chat box here. I definitely like listening to poetries. There are some famous poems that we have from famous personalities, famous authors, right? So I get yes in the chat box there, and I know all of us like poetry, isn't it? Great. And lovely. So I like rhymes, even is another comment that I get there. And basically, yes is the answer that I can see here in the chat box. And we are all yay for poetry, right? Great. And let me tell you, it is again a vast arena. Yes, poems. There are so many things to be learning about them, right? So, of course, I can take a whole new session on poetry. But yes, for now, we know that we all love poetry, isn't it? Great. So let's get going to the next segment now. And this is all about the genre, right? So yesterday, I told you that we are doing the mystery genre, yes. And what mystery means is that it revolves around stories where there are difficult situations. You have to put the pieces of the puzzle together and try to unravel whatever the secret is, right? So that's what the mystery genre is all about. And it really elicits that feeling of thrill, isn't it? So anytime when you're bored and when you want to read books, I think mystery is one genre that's going to keep you captivated, right? So that's the genre that we are looking out for today, the broader one. And I'm sure that it's going to be as interesting to be writing a story on this genre as interesting it is to read one, right? So that's the mystery genre for all of you, and let's move ahead to the next icebreaker question. And the question that comes up here is, who is your idol, right? So idol would mean anyone whom you're inspired by, or someone who's your role model, right? So do ponder on this question and let me know, who do you inspire to be? Yes. Okay. And I have smileys there in the chat box. Thanks for joining in here, Ravi, Varun, Rachna waving a hello at me, and great going there. So yes, I'm so glad to see this whole community growing, right? Um and I can see another comment there. Who is your idol? And Rachna tells me that it's her father. Okay, so role models in the family. Yes, of course, we do see that when we get inspired by someone who is there in the family, right? And of course, I have another comment there which says elder brother. Great. So we are always in awe of our siblings, isn't it? And of course, we are always compared as well with our siblings, but then it's that feeling of awe that we have towards our siblings, right? And I definitely get that. I am the younger one of younger one in the house. So yes, I am always inspired by my elder sister. And great going there. So I can see there that most of you have written about your parents, your teachers, and your siblings, right? Great. So thanks again for all of these comments here in the chat box and for all the likes. I can only tell you that I am so very thankful for you all to be joining me in the live, dropping in daily, and then also taking time out to comment to my questions and really ponder on them, right? So, yes, that was the next question that we had on the icebreaker segment. And now let's move ahead to the most important question: what's the subgenre of the day, right? And I'm sure that this is one of those subgenres that you might not have heard about, maybe, or you're not totally aware of what it entails, right? So let me give you a brief about this genre that we have for today, right? And Noir, that's pronounced as noir, and this is a subgenre which is mainly focused on the criminal, right? So let me tell you, noir is French for black, and it is a type of fiction where there are tough characters. It can be also made out to be bleak and of a pessimistic nature, and there is frequent use of flashbacks, stark lighting effects maybe, and then there are intricate plots, everything intertwined in itself, and a lot of self destruction that the main character goes through, right? So that is what the noir genre is all about, and today we are going to explore noir mystery, right? So let's move ahead with this subgenre for the day and understand how we can be writing one all by ourselves. Yes. So before we proceed any further, we have another icebreaker question come up. And the question is, what is your dream job? Okay. So this one's special, isn't it? Since childhood, we always think of what we would want to become when we grow up, right? And I am sure that each one of you would have thought about this one time or the other, isn't it? So do let me know on your thoughts here. Share your thoughts with me in the chat box and let me know what is your dream job, right? uh, i I can see that there are new joinees in the live, and all of you saying hello to me. Thanks a lot for joining. And one of the comments that I get there is, I want to become a pilot. Okay, great. So Joseph wanting to become a pilot there. And I get teacher coming up there as a profession. Um, Great. So all of you have thought this through, isn't it? And one of the other comments that I have here, Prachi tells me that she wants to be a scientist when she grows up. Great. So that's so much of thought that you have put into this, isn't it? And I'm so glad to know that you've already decided, at least you have some kind of a path that you're going to follow, isn't it? Great. So dream jobs coming up there: pilot, scientist, teacher, all of these professions coming up here in the chat box. And I am really glad about your thought process, right? Great going there. So let's move ahead with the next segment. And the next segment is about establishing the essentials. Yes. So let me tell you that are again three definite elements that we would not want to miss out while writing a noir mystery. And the three important elements that comes up here. The first one is the anti-hero, and then the crime, and then also we have the backdrop, right? So let's discuss each one of them in greater detail and understand what we can be including in our story while we are talking about all of these elements, right? So the first element that we have here is the anti-hero. And let me tell you that anti-hero means someone who does bad things, right? So here in a noir story, in a mystery like this, it is typical that the criminal is the one whom around whom the story is always revolving, right? So in this story, the anti-hero will turn into a criminal, and that's whom we will be focusing on for the story. That's the first essential, the anti-hero, right? And of course, after that, the second essential element that we have here is the crime, right? So now we need to decide what is the crime that we are going to portray in this kind of a story, and it can be anything from a heist to a murder. Yes. So the crime that you're going to showcase in this story is something which is to your calling, and of course it can range from a heist to a robbery to a murder to a abduction, extortion, anything that you would want to include in your story, right? So that's the second essential there, the crime. And then the third essential that we have here is the backdrop. Yes. So the backdrop of this story has to be really very specific, and there can be desolate backgrounds. That means that there are not many people who are inhabiting that particular place. It could be a bleak place, something which is glaring with emptiness, and most of the story should be written around night time, because as I told you, a noir mystery is always about dark themes, right? So it would be around the night time. There would be stark lighting effects, maybe hazy lights and shadows doing the play, and that's what will establish one of the other essentials, that is the backdrop of our story. Yes, so be very specific. There could be emptiness, desolate background, stark lighting effects, and dark themes, right? And that's how a noir story is always written. Yes, so these are the three essentials that we have here. And let's now move ahead to the next segment, and an interesting segment which is called the synonymit segment. And the first word that we have here in the synonymit segment is hazy, right? So the word meanings or synonyms for hazy could be misty, foggy, or even cloudy, right? Now, hazy, in what sense do we use it here in the noir mystery genre? Is that, it is a dark theme that we are focusing on, right? So that's something which is very bleak, yes? So that's the first synonymous word that we have for today, which is hazy. And let's move ahead to the next segment now. So before that, we have another icebreaker question. And the question that you can see right there onto the screen, it says, which is the animal that you think will best suit to be your best friend? Yes. So do give me your answers in the chat box and let me know your favorite animal, maybe who you think will best suit to be one of your best friends, right? So go ahead and type out your answers in the chat box. And let me see your favorite pets as well. Great. Okay, so I see a dog come up there, the very faithful and the lovable, right? Dogs are really man's best friend. Yes, I totally believe that. And I get dog and a cat there in the chat box. And what else? Okay, so a goldfish. Great. So, what do you do, Varun? Do you have a goldfish at home? And if yes, then do you keep talking, chattering to the goldfish for hours together? Yes, do let me know. And it's really such a lovely, feeling to have pets at home, isn't it? Great. Lovely. So I have dogs, maximum dogs are the answer that I have here in the chat box. And totally can relate to that. They are our best friend, isn't it? And I have cats and even goldfish come up there in the chat box. Great. Okay. So I never thought about a goldfish before this. But yes, a beautiful option to have as a pet, right? Great. And with that, let's move ahead to the next segment. And we have the expert tips on establishing the essentials, right? So let's check at some of the expert tips which are really going to help you in writing that story more confidently, right? So the first expert tip that we have here is that the story should be from the anti hero's point of view, right? So we always discuss the POV, or the point of view, who is the narrator of the story, right? And in this genre as well, even if the story is written in a third person point of view, it should mostly follow the criminal, right? That's what the criminal or the anti hero, whatever name you want to give to that particular character, right? So we see that the story is always revolving around the criminal, and that's the point of view that we really want in the story, right? That was the first expert tip. And then the second expert tip is that you need to make sure that the anti-hero or the criminal, they are the star of the story, right? So of course there's going to be a detective because it's a crime mystery, but even then, even though the detective is one of the main characters, they are not going to be the star of the show. Like we see in stories which are like detective fiction, we see that the detective is the star of the story, right? But in a noir mystery, you have to make sure that the criminal or the anti-hero is going to be the star of the story, right? It's all about their life that you're going to portray in the story, right? That's the second expert tip. And one of the point that has to be really understood well, because that's what distinguishes a noir mystery from another mystery genre, right? Now let's move ahead to the third expert tip. And the third expert tip tells us that there should not be much dialogues or conversations in the story. Our anti-hero is not one for much thinking or blabbering either, right? So it's a raw kind of a character that you're going to write. He or she is not going to be a talkative person, right? So there's not going to be much of dialogue delivery or conversations in the story. Yes, so that's the third expert tip. And again, that's a skill, that how you can be mentioning what the story is all about, even without all of those conversations, right? Now let's move ahead to the next synonymous word. And the second word that we have for today is blabbering, right? So blabbering would mean continuous chatter, ramble, or even jabber, right? So these are the synonyms for the word blabbering. You can check out all of these words in Google, or traditionally in a dictionary, and then jot all of these words down in one place as a ready reckoner, right? And this is going to help you in amplifying and amping up your vocabulary, right? So that's the second synonymous word for today, which is blabbering. And now let's move ahead to the next segment. And we have another icebreaker question. The question is, what interests you the most, right? So do let me know your hobbies, your interests in the chat box here, and it will be lovely to know what is the one thing that interests you. Okay. Okay, so for starts, I have Prisha tell me that galaxies interests her. That's great, Prisha. So again, inquisitive minds at play, isn't it? Mm, we have galaxies come up there. Stamp collection is another answer that I get there. Okay, what else? Okay, books is another answer that I have here. That's lovely. Books also interest me. What else? Math interests me is one answer that I get, and that is not a usual answer for me, right? Uh, Great. So Richa tells me that math interests her, and I'm so glad. So math, galaxies, we have books. A lot of book answers come up there. So yes, I am glad that all of you are into reading books. Great. So many of your interest there in my chat box, and thanks again for the likes and the emojis that you've been sending me here in the chat box. That's really making my day. And let's move ahead with the next segment. The next segment is a fun segment, the movie title trivia, right? So by now, we all know that it's about guessing the popular noir mystery movie titles, right? So the first movie that we have here, there it is on the screen. And you can tell me quickly what is the name of this movie. It's again in this genre of mystery. And who knows the answer here? Quickly type out the answer in the chat box and let me know. Great. Okay, so let me see if I get some answers there. Drive, and that's correct. That's the name of the movie. Great. So let's move ahead to the second one. We have only three for today, and this is the next movie that we have here, right? And quickly, if you can tell me the name of this movie. Okay, so let me reveal that one out to you. That's the Night Crawler. And with that, let's move ahead to the next one. Here we go. What's the name of this movie? Okay, so I don't think you're aware of that. I get question marks, some think emojis, and I'm going to reveal out the answer. This is Memento. Great. So, with that, let me quickly move ahead to the next segment. And here we have the plotting the plot, right? So, again, three important elements that I'm going to give you. These are the most important elements in writing an engaging noir mystery. And all of those three elements right there on my screen. The first one is the detective. Of course, he or she is also one of the main characters. And then there is this element of self destruction and also the ending, right? So let's look at each one of these segments here, right? So here we have the first segment, which is the detective, right? So again, one of the main characters, but you're not going to focus on this particular character because the story is going to revolve around the criminal, right? But still, for the story to progress further, the detective is again one of the important characters because they are going to put the pieces of the puzzle together and try to unravel the mystery, right? So the detective is going to be someone who is either after the criminal, even before the crime has been committed, or maybe after the crime has been committed, only then they are going to try to follow that particular criminal, right? So that's about the first element that we are going to talk in the plot, which is the detective. But only thing that you need to understand here is that they are not central to the story, right? Now, moving ahead to the second element that we have here, the element of self destruction, right? So there is going to be a typical pattern of self destructive behavior on the part of the main character, right? And think through this. You can dig deeper into human psyche and figure out what drives people to desperation and to crime, right? So a criminal is not born a criminal. They become one only because of the circumstances, right? So you can write about this in detail and you can talk about what drives them to the world of crime, right? So self destruction is one of the main themes that we are going to talk about in plotting the plot, and it's going to in a way expand your story further, right? So this is one of the typical characteristics that sets it apart from any other different mystery genre, right? And we are going to talk about what is it that drives that criminal to the crime. Yes, so this is one of the aspects here, self destruction. And moving ahead to the next segment, which is the next element, sorry, which is the ending, right? So just keep this in mind, that as we always see that stories are always, they always have a happy ending, a positive note, right? But a noir mystery does not ever have a happy ending, right? Because they are always written in a raw style, and crime is one thing that has already happened, and the criminal is always in the path of self destruction. So it can never end in a happy tone, right? That's one of the understanding that we need to build into us while writing a noir mystery, right? So plan it accordingly. Before even starting to write the story, you have to have this understanding that the ending is not going to be a happy one. Yes, so that's again about plotting the plot, the ending. And now moving further ahead to the next synonymous word, which is fate, right? So the synonyms for fate could be destiny, providence, or even predestination, right? So do Google up all of these words, and of course you can understand that fate and destiny are similar meanings, and that's why it's called a synonym, right? And do jot down all of these words in your Google it journal. Right now, let's move ahead to the next segment. You're going to have a lot of fun in this segment, and I'm sure about that, because this is the Think Like a Pro segment. And here you need to guess the answers to these riddles that I'm going to ask you, right? So, are we all ready for some riddles and some fun? Yes. Do give me a show of hand, maybe some thumbs ups in the chat box. Yes. So, we already have thumbs ups pouring in here. Great. So, let me showcase the first question and the first riddle, right? Here it comes. You go at red but stop at green. So it's the opposite of a traffic light, right? So what is it where you go at red but you stop at green? So what am I? Do think about this. It's an interesting one. And when I give you the answer, you're going to be like, oh, yes, that's correct, right? So think about this carefully. You go at red, but you stop at green. Okay, I get question marks there, some smileys. What is the answer? And do remember all of these riddles. You can, of course, ask all of these riddles to your friends at school or in your neighborhood, right? It's going to be a fun riddle time. Okay, that is correct. So I have one of the correct answers here. Rishabh tells me that it is a watermelon, and that is correct because while eating a watermelon, you go at red but stop at green, right? Great. So that was the first riddle that we had there, and let's move ahead to the next one. Isn't it fun? Okay, so the next one, I can fly, but I have no wings. I can cry, but I have no eyes. What am I? Okay, so that's difficult, isn't it? I can fly, but I have no wings. I can cry, but I have no eyes. What am I? Yes, are we in for some answers there? I can't see any answers coming up here apart from smileys and question marks. Great, so let me reveal that out. The answer is a cloud because clouds do move from one place to another and they do cry when it rains, isn't it? Yes, so that was the riddle, the second one. And let's move ahead to the third one here. Great. So the third riddle coming your way. People buy me to eat, but never eat me. What am I? This is a real interesting one. People buy me to eat, but never eat me. Okay, so let me tell you that it is a kind of a word play, and you need to think on those lines. That is again correct. So I get a plate as an answer, and that is correct. So a plate is bought to be eaten, but it is not the thing that we eat, right? We just it helps us in eating, but we do not eat a plate, right? So now put that answer there while you ask the question, and then you will get the word play, right? Great going there. Okay. So with that, let's move ahead to the next riddle that we have here. And here it is. People make me, save me, change me, and raise me. What am I? Correct answer. That is right. That is money. Yes. So people make me, save me, change me, and also raise me. So what am I? It is money, right? Great. Think about money in all of those four lines and it fits well. Yes. Great. Yes, that's correct, Richa. Okay, so let's move ahead to the last one. This is the last riddle for the day. And here we go. Okay, I think it's not clearly visible. So let me read that out to you twice. I have many teeth, but I can't bite. I am often used early, but rarely at night. So that rhymes even, isn't it? I have many teeth, but I can't bite. I am often used early, but rarely at night. What am I? So, what is it that has many teeth? That's correct. I thought of that. Yes. So, all of you giving me correct answers there. It's a comb, right? So, it's always called the teeth of the comb, right? Great. Lovely. Kudos to all of you for giving me quite some answers, correct, right? So let's move ahead now. After that fun segment, I know we all had fun playing that riddle time. Yes. So let's move ahead now to some serious business. And this is going to be the expert tips on plotting the plot. So this is going to really help you in moving your story forward, right? The first expert tip that I have here is about the anti-hero, and the anti-hero of a noir mystery, let me tell you, most often it's female character, and it is the tale of their self destruction that we are going to talk about, right? But it's definitely not important to follow this path, and you can write whatever best fits your story, right? So that's the first expert tip that we have there in plotting the plot. And now for the second expert tip, the this kind of a story, the noir mystery, keep it always short and crisp and concise, right? So they are always written in a raw style, in a concise style, and it does not involve a great deal of explaining, right? So do not get into this habit of explaining every action and situation. There should be a lot of scheming and plotting that happens in the story, but of course we are not going to explain things throughout the story, right? So keep it short, crisp, and concise. Yes, that's the second expert tip here. And now let's move ahead to the third expert tip that we have here. And here we see that flashbacks, talking about our past life, is again another important element of the story. Yes, so there will be a lot of flashbacks in the story, and the readers, they will be taken from the present time to the anti-hero's past life or event, and it depends upon you as creative writers what is the past life that you want to talk about the anti-hero, right? But definitely remember that a backstory to the anti-hero or the criminal is much required in writing a noir mystery. Yes, so that's the third expert tip that we have here. With that, I hope that you have a lot of idea on how you can be writing a mystery in this subgenre. Yes, and now I'm going to move ahead to the next synonymous word, and the word is scheming, right? So let me tell you the synonyms for scheming could be conniving, designing, or even slick, right? So when you try to put a plot together, some kind of a secret mission together without the people's knowing or their awareness, then it means you're scheming against them, right? So the synonyms for scheming could be conniving, designing, and even slick, right? So do Google up all of these words and jot them down in your Google It journal. Try using them wherever appropriate in your vocabulary, and it's going to do a world of good. Yes. So let's move ahead now to the next segment. And this next segment is locate the words, right? So here I'm going to show you a letter maze in a little while from now, and you need to guess or maybe find out four hidden words, right? So you need to have a keen observation, and all of these words, let me tell you, are from today's episode. So let me show you the letter maze. Here it is. So the words could be written horizontally, it could be written diagonally, or even vertically. And you have only 1 minute's time, and the clock has already started ticking. So quickly, if you can give me your answers in the chat box. Um, you have to have an eagle's vision and check for all of the words that you can see in this letter maze. So I have already started getting answers, and those are all correct answers. Thanks a lot for all of them. That is correct. Raw is one of the answers there, because we need to keep our style of writing very raw. Yes. And then we have heist come up there. That is again correct, because it could be one of the themes for your crime. Yes. Okay, what else? Okay, we have night. That is also correct, because dark themes is what we are looking for here. So we will have the story set in mostly in the night times, or in a dark desolate kind of a background. Yes, so that is also correct. Again, thanks a lot for all of these answers. There's one word that's missing. And okay, so let me reveal the answers now. The first one is noir. So that's the one word that you all missed. Yes. And the second one, we had heist. And we also had night. And the fourth word is raw. So, yes, a big round of applause for giving me all correct answers there. Of course, one of them was missed, the one that was written diagonally, noir. Yes. Now let's move ahead with the next segment. And we have a recommendation of the day, which is a movie for today. And the name of the movie is No Country for Old Men, right? So this is one thing that, one movie that we are recommending from us to you. Yes. So do watch this one, No Country for Old Men. Yes. Now let's move ahead with the next segment. We're already coming at the end of our episode, so I want to leave you refreshed with a memory of all the things that we did in today's episode, right? So a quick roundup is something that which is much required, right? So first things first, we have the essentials. We saw that there's going to be an anti-hero or a criminal who is going to be the prime focus in our story. There's going to be a crime which can range from a money heist to a murder. Yes, so it really depends on you what is the crime that you would want to showcase. And then the third element that we have here is the setting. So the setting or the backdrop of our story is going to be maybe there is emptiness all around. It's really bleak and dark and pessimistic kind of a story. And the physical setting that we can be talking about is maybe a desolate background where there are not much people who are inhabiting the place, right? So these are all of the essentials that we would want to keep in our Noir mystery, right? And now moving ahead with plotting the plot. Here we have the detective who's going to be one of the main characters, of course, because the story has to progress further. There's going to be a detective who's going to try to solve the crime, right? But of course it's not the detective whose life is going to be showcased here, right? Now self destruction is another theme that we are going to talk about in our plot of our story, right? So we always see in this kind of story that the criminal is going to a path of self destruction, and it is a typical pattern that they follow, right? And we need to dig deeper into human psyche and understand what is it that is driving them to this world of crime, right? And of course the ending, as we already saw, the ending is never going to be a happy ending, because of course there is self destruction, right? So the ending can't ever be happy in this kind of a noir mystery story, and that's one thing that we need to etch into our memory, right? So these were the plot building pointers, and of course we also saw some essentials there. With that, let me get into the project work, and I definitely want each one of you to be doing this, implement all of the learnings that we have had today, and try and draft a noir mystery story, right? And it's going to be really interesting, just like we are interested in reading a crime novel. It's really going to be interesting to be writing one for ourselves. Yes, so too many elements that you can think about while writing your own story, right? And you have a total creative freedom here. Yes, so implement all the learnings and try taking that first step, put pen to paper, and try writing a first noir mystery story. Yes, I get a lot of thumbs ups there, and I'm really glad that you're going to try to write a story by yourself. Yes. Now, moving ahead, we have what's next. That is for tomorrow, Friday, we have horror as the main genre, and we will come up with another subgenre for the day and explore and try to build up on how we can be writing a story around this horror theme. Yes. So that is it for today. And I have Shakti joining me in the live. Hello there, Shakti. We were just winding up today's live, and I come live every day at 6 p.m. India time, so you might want to join in a bit early. Yes, great. So I am Sapna Mahadevan signing out for today. And until we meet next tomorrow, I want you to take good care of yourselves and be happy and stay smiling. Bye bye.